I want to get to some of the other big stories that we have been following very closely. And as you know, we've been following this case involving Peaches for several years now, really several decades, as that case was essentially tied to the Gilgo Beach murders for several decades. Now, Peaches and her daughter have been identified. I do want to talk more about the case itself, so let's bring in Commissioner Patrick Ryder with the Nassau County Police Department to explain a little bit more about the case and the new information here. Commissioner, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you have a lot going on, so we definitely appreciate it.
Good morning. Great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. And first off, I did want to ask you about this case overall, because I mentioned it kind of off the top, but Peaches, as she was known, is a case that so many people there have been following for decades upon decades. There was the chance that it was tied to the Gilgo Beach murders. So why was this case so important to continue to follow over all of these years?
Well, every case is important. Anytime we have a victim, a homicide case, as you know, we never close it. We never stop the investigation. We always try to get new leads, technology changes, things get brought into play that make us advance our searches and hopefully identify the victims, as we did in this case, and then move to solve that. And that's what we're attempting to do now.
Can you explain to me how the process for identifying her kind of all came together?
So 1997, we find a torso over in Hempstead State Lake Park. It was found in a rubber container. That became, as everybody knows, Peaches because of the distinct tattoo that was on her. Then in 2011, when they were doing these searches up there at Gilgo, they found some what we call baby doe, right? Jane Doe. That torso was found up there at the farthest east point of Ocean Parkway. So just outside the Gilgo bodies that were recovered. So we start putting the two bodies together through genetic DNA. They make a match of the mother and the daughter. They're connected. Then we're trying to identify who these two bodies were. As we go further in the investigation, the mother first gets identified as, now we know, as Tanya Jackson. Tanya Jackson was 26 years old. Then the baby doe gets identified a little bit later as a 2-year-old that is there in that Ocean Park area. And the 2-year-old later becomes Tatiana Dykes. And we know that they are both connected through regular DNA, mom and daughter. Probably both killed around the same time in 1997.
Do we know much about who they were? Do we have a picture of that just yet?
So obviously, in Tatiana, she's a young child, and that's her mother, Tanya. Tanya worked in the military. Tanya served overseas, serving our country. She was bounced around the country with multiple addresses, but at and about the time of her death, she was out of the military. She was living in an apartment in Brooklyn. She was working for a local doctor's office. And when she would go to work every day, she would have a friend or a family member watch Tatiana. We're trying to find out who that friend is so they can help us make that connection. We're also trying to get information. We put up $25,000 reward that we're trying to, again, get more information on building a case, as our detective captain said yesterday on the news. It's 27 years of work that needs to be done to be caught up to make the positive identification and find out who is that killer that we're going to make that arrest.
I mentioned it, but this case for decades has been linked to the Gilgo Beach murders. I did want to ask you the location where these two were found. Where is it in comparison to Gilgo Beach? And is it believed at this point that Rex Heuermann could have any sort of involvement in this case as well? Is all of that still unclear?
So it's always unclear. It's always an open case. It's an ongoing investigation. You got a body parts, a torso that's over in Hempstead State Lake Park in Lakeview. You got the baby that's on the furthest east end of Ocean Parkway. And in between, over in the Jones Beach area, we found on the Nassau County side, we found some of her extremities from the mother that were dumped in that location. Putting them all together, there's 3 different locations in the Rex case. And again, not to go into their case and what they're doing, but they're confined to that one area. We're starting in Lakeview. So that's miles away from where the baby was found.
Do you know at this point if this could open up new investigative leads or connections to maybe other victims, anything of that nature?
So everything's open-ended, right? So we may find out there's another route this is going to go, or we may find out this is all it is, this one, whoever this killer is, the one killer that killed both of them. Or we might find other leads that go. That's why we do these things. Technology changes the game for us all the time. This genetic genealogy DNA is phenomenal what the FBI has done for us in making these connections. So as technology advances, our searches advances. That's why we never give up on a victim. We never stop. And as the DA said yesterday, we're going to pull every strand that we have to make this work.
My last question for you here, and you kind of touched on this, but how pivotal is the public in helping with all of this? Not necessarily just in identifying the victims themselves, but also kind of providing a clear timeline of when they were last seen and really any other information.
The answer is right in the question you asked. That timeline is so important to us, right? You hit it on the head. We need to piece this together from the beginning of when whoever this killer is, how they met, and how she came to her demise and Tatiana's demise. So that's the important part. That's why we put up the $25,000 Crime Stoppers reward. We want to get as much information as we can before we move forward and hopefully make that arrest and prosecution.
All right. Patrick Ryder there, police commissioner over in Nassau County. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and provide some perspective here. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, it is important, as getting it out there in the media. What you're doing for us today is helping us, right? We're not making matches with anything. We're not trying to start the rumor mill. We're trying to get facts and evidence that we piece a case together. Our homicide investigators are the best in the country. They will take their time. They will be detailed. They will work with the Suffolk County PD as we have all along. We will continue to work with the FBI as we have all along. And together, we will come to a successful conclusion. And then our great district attorney, Ann Donnelly, will make that prosecution stick.
Commissioner, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everything you do.
Of course.